It's Tuesday, the 1st of August. Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us. We've got a big cold blast moving across New Zealand. It's bringing heavy rain, gale force winds, snow, hail, thunderstorms, and a little bit of sunshine as well. Let's take a look and see what's happening on the animated wind map. Low pressure right here near Southland, the strongest winds in yellow shading. This is at the end of today, and these big strong winds will move all the way up the country as that low crosses past to the south. There's a big area of high pressure over Australia, so between the high and the low, this is the squash zone, and it's surging up and across the country as we go through Tuesday and Wednesday with strongest winds in the east and around Cook Strait. But it will be blustery in a number of regions with severe gales, so make sure you're up to date with those Met Service warnings. And there are also snow warnings out. This is the latest snowfall map from us. You can see the heaviest falls around Queenstown, 0.5 metre coming there. That'll be great for the ski fields. And if you're a farmer and not so keen on seeing snow, the good news is there's not a lot falling here around Southland and coastal Otago. Very bottom of the scale there, maybe a couple of centimetres at the very most, but it shouldn't settle too much. In most of those areas, obviously inland and around the hills, it's a different story. And around Central Plateau and along the Gisborne ranges, possibly even up into the Mamaku and Kaimai ranges, there might be a very light dusting on the tops of the mountains. And look at the temperatures. Here is today's departure from normal, showing most of New Zealand warmer than average by 3 or 4 degrees, maybe even more than that in the red, fairly normal at the very bottom of the country. And then we switch to tomorrow, and most places are either normal or below normal, as you can see there in the blue shading. So the cold change coming through is decent, but it's not as bad as it could be. I mean, you know, some of our biggest Antarctic blasts or southerly blasts, all of New Zealand goes dark blue. And so on this one, even though Wednesday is cold, from a number of regions, it's about normal for this time of the year. So not exactly the coldest of cold blasts. Here's the rainfall coming through for the next few days ahead. Most of it's in the west of the country, no surprises there. And the rainfall totals, not so much for the North Island, a little heavier down in the south here where you're getting up to around 50 or 60 millimetres through for you in the west. And in Australia, most of the rain in the southwestern corner for Western Australia, 10 to 20 millimetres for you, and a similar story just south of Cairns. And that's for the next 3 days ahead. So here we are at lunchtime, Wednesday. In comes the blast for New Zealand, right across the area. Now the blue line means that the cold air is taking a big bite out of the atmosphere. And so that's what's being measured up here, high in the atmosphere, this cold change. It's not just at the surface level where we are, it goes right up into the atmosphere. That's why it is a big cold blast, southerlies or southwesterlies, right across New Zealand. There'll be gale force around Auckland at times, and hail showers in the mix, and wintry weather down here in Southland and around Central Plateau, and of course our capital, Wellington. Different story for the capital in Australia, settled here at ACT, frosty in fact in the mornings with high pressure and control. Now that high drifts further out to the Tasman on Thursday, and that bulldozes away the cold blast. So the Chatham Islands have got it, but most other regions will see a break in the weather. The southerlies still blowing in to Wellington and Waited Upper, Banks Peninsula, Otago Peninsula, around Dunedin here, getting the edge of those showers. But the high is rolling in with a warm nor'wester kicking in for Australia's southeast. And by Friday, well, those warm nor'westers carry on. There's the next low though. So a cold front comes into Adelaide, and a cold front also comes into Invercargill and later on Dunedin as we go through Friday, with a southerly still blowing around most of the country, but very sunny. If you live in Nelson and Marlborough, if you live in Bay of Plenty or Coromandel Peninsula, it should be pretty sunny. And by this weekend, the high is rolling in, so frosty weather in a number of places. Still a bit of a southerly for Northern Hawke's Bay, Mahia Peninsula and Gisborne, a couple of showers in the mix, and a couple of those might head in towards the Bay of Islands. Cold front coming into Melbourne, Hobart and Canberra, and it falls apart as it goes into Sydney on Saturday. And by Sunday, that's the front there sort of falling apart. High pressures in charge for both Australia and New Zealand. There's just a couple of little showers in the fringes here and there, just like Australia. So that is the forecast for the first few days of August. Now, our next Climate Watch update, that is coming out tomorrow, Wednesday, the 2nd of August. We're waiting for an announcement from Australia's Bureau of Meteorology later today on El Nino and whether or not we're officially into it or not. So we'll have an update on that for you tomorrow, Wednesday, along with our normal weather forecast. Stay warm and dry. We'll see you tomorrow.